Hello, this is Craig James from MasculinityByDesign.com. This is the Masculine by Design Mancast, and today's episode, I'm going to start by talking about diamonds, and after I do that, I'm going to get to the main point which I want to share with you guys today, and that is three stains that get into a man's life and help really to just shroud his masculinity. It clouds it. These stains cloud his masculinity so that it can't shine through. The world can't see the value of his masculinity, and the man whose masculinity is being clouded also does not see the value of his masculinity. It's not allowed to bless him and to help him to progress and achieve his ambitions in life. So when we think about diamonds, most people, I guess, don't really realize that a diamond, when it's in its raw state, mined from the earth, the untrained eye actually has a really hard time identifying a diamond. I know that before I had a chance to look at some photos online of what an unrefined, freshly mined diamond looks like, I would not have known that it was a diamond. So before it's cut, refined, polished, cleaned up, its inner beauty, it has yet to be exposed. It's hidden. And even more so while that diamond is still in the earth. And so still the potential value is there. The potential value that diamond has, it's hidden, but it's there. And I think the same thing can be said about a lot of modern man today in terms of their masculinity. Their masculinity is there, and there's immense value in it, but it's hidden. They haven't unleashed it. It's not visible. It's not useful for them. It's not useful for others. It's not useful for their family. So they need to refine themselves. They need to chip away at all of the impurities and contaminants that have stained their lives, that are keeping their masculinity from showing, from shining for everybody to see. Now, these stains that have built up on the lives of so many men today, I mean, they're the result of years of just impurities piling on, year after year, month after month, week after week. And it's left modern man living as a shell of who he was designed to be, the masculine man that he was designed to be. And so what we find today is that men are extremely passive. They're not assertive. They're fat instead of healthy. They're weak instead of strong. They always complain. They're ensconced in negativity. They're not confident. They're complacent instead of ambitious. They look to others to provide for them and to meet their needs and desires. And so these conditions, they have to be chipped away for a man's value to himself and to his family and society because of his masculinity to be realized. And his potential for greatness depends on this. So when we think about just how ingrained these stains on our masculinity are, I mean, from the time that we are young men or even boys, really from the time we're in preschool, we're given a directive and instructed and taught to suppress our masculinity. When we're 4 and 5 years old and we're on the playground and another little kid shoves us or punches us, or we're told, don't defend yourself, go run away or go tell somebody. Kids, when they're in elementary school, they have a ton of masculine energy that just needs to get out. And we sit them down in desks all day and ask them to pay attention to a teacher teaching a lesson. They may get a half hour or an hour at PE or recess, but they have this pent-up energy that they're not allowed to express. They're not allowed to get out. And so you have a lot of these young boys that are fidgety. They are distracted easily. They might be kind of clowning around in class in order to just take the edge off of being bored and needing to get that masculine energy out. And these boys are told that this is a distraction, that it needs to be suppressed, and so they are suppressed. Our young boys are given Ritalin to chemically suppress their masculine energy. We snuff out competition from the lives of our young boys. We give them participation trophies and make the same end result for each participant, no matter how hard one worked over the other. And so we sap out the motivation for them to better themselves. And, we replace logic with feeling. We say, if that's going to hurt somebody's feelings, we shouldn't do it, even if we're failing to speak the truth because of it. And I think that's completely wrong. That's not what our masculinity should have us do. We should be free to speak the truth, and we should desire to tell the truth. Even if it hurts somebody's feelings, we know that there's value in that, and that before positive change can happen, sometimes feelings have to be hurt. You have to tell the truth, and people may not like it at first, but failing to speak the truth is a travesty. It's an unvirtuous way to live. And so climbing out under this heavy yoke of feminine conditioning that happens from the time we're so young, I mean, it's tough. And to make matters worse, most men don't even realize that it's happened to them. And so we kind of call this the blue pill conditioning, where guys they think this is reality, that this is how things should be, that their masculinity is toxic, it needs to be suppressed, it's dangerous, it's violent, there's no benefit to be gained from aligning themselves with their masculinity. So it's hard for us to convince men of the need to change, and of course that's the first step before any change can happen. And so needless to say, every man still has this inner diamond of masculinity that he has immense value for him, but he has to first rid his life of the filth that's making it indiscernible for him. So let's look at 3 of the stains that I've identified as I think they're the most prominent in the lives of men today that are keeping their masculinity clouded, that are keeping them from achieving their full potential as masculine men. The first is the stain of fear and worry. So fear is something that paralyzes men. It keeps us enslaved to a life of mediocrity because we don't act out our convictions, we don't act out our desires, we don't take the action that we know we should take because we have some fear or worry about what might happen if we do. And so this paralyzing fear is keeping a lot of men stuck in their current position in life instead of continuing to progress, to learn, to grow, and to have a positive impact on the world around them. And so when you have men that are in this state, their perspectives are in a state of dysfunction. Instead of fixating on the desires that they have for their lives, the things that they want to achieve, continuing to better themselves, and pursuing those goals with a pissed off mindset, or pissed off for success mindset, as I talked about in the first podcast, his fears instead cement him in a life that's devoid of personal progress because he's so scared of what might happen if he takes action that he never does take action. He's scared of failure. He's scared of what others might think, and that's not a life of masculinity. That's a life of cowardice. And if you are content living that way, you've made your own bed, and I have no sympathy for you. As long as a man is living in fear, his masculinity is unable to shine. He's going to be too concerned with what other people think. He's going to be too concerned with the failure that might come if he acts out his desires. And so he has no chance to grow, no chance to achieve all that he aspires for in life. And so another thing that I think a worry that a lot of men have is that if they live out their masculinity, that they're going to catch a lot of flack from other people, or that other people are going to look down on them. And I have to say, to hell with that, to be honest, to put it bluntly. I mean, a masculine man sets his own expectations for his life. They're his alone. Nobody has a place to tell any of us what we should be pursuing in our own lives. And when we find out what that is, we should pursue it to the best of our ability and not be concerned with what anybody around us think. There are certain people who we should probably listen to, people in our lives who we can trust that have our best interests, our wives, maybe our parents. Sometimes that's not even the case. But we need to blaze our own trail. We need to find out what it is that drives us, what ambitions we have, and pursue those with a high level of energy and passion, and not worry about what might happen because of it. We go out there, we leave nothing on the table. That's part of being masculine. Fear and worry will rob a man of this masculine vigor. And worry and fear, they're a worthless emotion, other than really in life and death circumstances. I think that's when fear is valuable. But for the most part, and in normal circumstances in a man's life, fear and worry, all they do is take away from what a man ought to be doing. They keep him from taking the actions he needs to take. There's no value in that. Whereas just taking the action, being bold and decisive, doing what needs to be done, and not thinking twice about it, that's virtue, that's conviction, that's courage, and that's how a man should live his life. So you need to polish off that stain of fear and worry if it's tarnishing your masculinity. You need to live life on your terms. Have a fearless demeanor that gives you this irrational confidence, and consistently take action. Jesus had a lot of words to say about fear, and I find the following words to be very powerful in this regard. He says, "Do not worry about your life. Can any one of you add a single hour to your life by worrying? Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." So Jesus is speaking to his disciples here. He's telling them, don't worry. Don't worry about your life. Don't worry about tomorrow. And I think, he was giving them this message because he knew that they were afraid. There were a lot of things for them to be afraid of. People were resisting their message. And I have to guess some of the disciples were getting a little worried about that and maybe hesitating on doing what they knew needed to be done in order to follow their master and their teacher and to do what he has instructed them to do. And Jesus said, don't worry about it. You do what you need to do, and don't let things take care of themselves. And I think that's an awesome plan for so many men today, and one that a lot of men aren't following. They let fear drive their actions, their decisions, and no good comes of that. So wipe off that stain of fear and worry. The next stain that I want to talk about is the stain of negativity. So when we think about negative men, they're all around us, and they're a detriment to themselves, they're a detriment to their families and society. And negativity is a contagious thing. It's something that, one guy starts complaining and having a negative attitude, and before long, everybody around them kind of takes on that same cancerous attitude. This negative man doesn't just harm himself. He harms his family, his friends, his colleagues. And really the only thing that can immunize a man against negativity is just having an immense positivity, a positive outlook on life, and just having a high level of self-confidence. So we look at all the negativity around us. You think about what drives that. What drives a man to be negative? And when I think about that, I guess what it really comes down to me is that it's somebody who focuses outward. He looks at everything that other people have, and his energy remains on kind of analyzing what people have that he doesn't have, or how somebody else got ahead and how he can't get ahead, or how somebody else has been given opportunities that he hasn't been given. And that I can understand how that can make somebody negative, but I don't understand why anybody looks at life that way. That they have all of their energy absorbed by complaining about things, and then have no energy left over to actually apply to fix what's wrong in their lives. When you look at, I guess, a masculine man and how he behaves, and evaluate that relative to everybody else around him, in the same way that a diamond receives the value that we ascribe to it, because of the fact that it's so much more beautiful and rare than all the other gemstones that can be mined from the earth. It's the same thing with masculine men. A masculine man is extremely valuable in today's culture because there are so few of them. There are so many other less valuable, very common men walking around that are negative and complainers, whereas those of us who are aligning ourselves with our masculinity, we're like that diamond that comes from the earth, that carries a lot of value. We have a positive attitude. We're confident in our abilities, and we lead our families well. And that's something that is extremely valuable. It's extremely rare. So we're set apart from the emasculated pack, and that really helps us because, in the workplace, that's something our bosses notice. They value that. They take notice. They enjoy working with somebody who's positive, who has a can-do attitude, who isn't scared to roll up their sleeves and do what it takes to get a job done. When your boss rolls out a new policy and the rest of the group's complaining about how much of a challenge it's going to be to implement and all the extra work it's going to give them, and you just continue with your positive attitude and say, yeah, it will be a challenge, but we're going to get it done. Those kinds of things are valuable, and you will eventually reap the benefits of that. And seeing the success of others, it shouldn't hinder us or prevent us from taking action and wanting to better ourselves. Honestly, when I see somebody who has achieved what I want to achieve, or somebody who is successful, that motivates me. That shows me that more is possible, that there's a model that somebody has followed and it's gotten them where I want to be. And so that just motivates me. That's like iron sharpening iron for me. I take that as, a competition to try to better myself, to try to be closer to what that person is. I don't hate on them because they've achieved something that I wish I could achieve. I use what they've done as fuel to help keep me energized and motivated to achieve the same thing. And the same thing with, going after those goals. You can't focus on what everyone else is doing, what everyone else has, or things that are outside of your control. And this is just a hallmark of negative, complaining people, is that they're always so focused on what everyone else is doing and everything around them that's outside of their control. And they never turn that around and look at the infinitely more aspects that are inside of their control that would have so much more value to them and would help them to better their situation in life. But instead they spend all their time and energy complaining and having a negative mindset. They feel powerless and impotent to control their circumstances, and so they want to blame and make excuses. But if you look at the history of humanity, there's nobody has had a more negligible impact on the world than negative people, than complainers. You don't even hear about them in history books. I can't think of any negative complainers that have graced the history books in the classes that I took in school and otherwise. And maybe there are some, and I have to believe that if there are, they aren't looked upon very positively. These people that are negative and complainers, they consume way more than they ever produce. They're a detriment to society. They're a leech on human civilization. And they bring other people down with them. They drink this poison Kool-Aid of negativity, and they pour cups and give it to everybody else around them. And it's really sad to see. But at the same time, those of us who don't drink that Kool-Aid, and we set our own path and we set our own goals, and we maintain a positive attitude and a high level of ambition and drive, that just makes us look that much better. We're that much more valuable. It makes it that much easier for us to stand out and achieve what we want to achieve in life. So, don't let negativity get you down. You can't fall into that trap that so many are falling into today. Whatever you don't have in life, it's because of decisions that you made. I'm sorry. They're the consequences of your choices, your actions, what you've done. Nobody else is to blame for that. And whenever you embrace this mindset of negativity, every area of your life is compromised. It's just keeping you in that, pitiable cesspool of existence that you're in. It's not helping you get out of it. So wipe clean that stain of negativity in your life if it's infiltrated your mind. Get rid of it, because it's not providing you any value, and it's keeping you from living the masculine life that you were created to live. All right, now the last stain that I want to look at is the stain of distraction. The opportunities around us to be distracted are endless. Just as I'm recording this podcast, my phone's been, vibrating chirps at me, because of different notifications that are coming up on its screen. And, if I wasn't busy doing this, I'm sure, half of the time I would have gone and picked up my phone. It's really easy to get distracted. So when it's time to work, I make sure my phone's in a different room and I ignore it. I don't give it any of my attention, because I have other things that are more important that I need to get done that are in alignment with my goals. And so, all these things, we have smartphones, our kids can distract us, household chores, social media, the 24/7 news cycle that we have. People arguing on Facebook or Twitter about politics. It's okay to, state your opinions and have those out there. But, I see so many guys that I'm friends with on social media. They don't just, add a quick response to tell somebody what they think about something political or something going on in the news. They will get in hours-long political battles with people that change nobody's mind, and they just suck their energy and time away from them. It's just such a distraction. Video games. How many guy friends I have that, sit and play video games for 20 plus hours every week. It's just, I'm all for video games, have some fun, relax a little bit, take the load off every once in a while. But 20 hours a week, that's too much. That's a distraction from your life. That's keeping you from time with your kids, time with your wife, time adding value to the world, doing whatever it is that God's blessed you with in terms of your gifts and talents. Guys that spend so much time watching and following sports. I don't understand the whole allure. I'm a big baseball fan, St. Louis Cardinals here in Missouri. But I don't let it impact my life to a high degree. I mean, I don't set aside my entire night to watch every game. You know, if they lose, it doesn't really bother me or affect me, even if it's, you know, a playoff game or World Series. Sure, I want them to win, but I mean, there are grown men in my life that will literally shed tears if their hometown team loses a game. And that is just ridiculous. No sports team deserves that kind of emotional or time investment on your part. You're wasting your life by pouring yourself into that. Find something more valuable and productive to devote your time and energy to. How many guys are led away into a porn addiction, and they sit in front of a video and watching sex videos all day? What a waste of life. You know, what a distraction. And all this content that we have on the web that just is there to captivate our attention. You know, it's easy for us, if we're not careful, to just go from sun up to sundown every day in this, you know, near comatose state. Just, you know, sucked into our media, our computer screens, our smartphones. And so, you know, when I look at this, I mean, this is both a blessing and a curse. I mean, we have answers to just about any question at our fingertips 24/7, which is awesome. But we also have endless entertainment and media and things that can distract us. And so we have to be better at being a master over our time. You know, because what happens is, in most men's life, is that it owns them. You know, the limited time that we have with our wives, our children, to better ourselves, to learn, to grow, to provide solutions to pressing problems facing our families or our societies. You know, spending our time glued to the television or arguing with friends over politics on Facebook, that's not a valuable use of our time. I'm sorry, it just isn't. You know, we sit around and we see all these guys that are just completely unsatisfied with life. And it's no wonder. I mean, these guys are unsatisfied with life. They're living in sexless marriages. They're disrespected by their children. I mean, why would your wife and children respect you when they see you just wasting your life away? And you know, you get home from work and you vegetate in front of a smartphone or an iPad or the television screen until it's time for bed, and hardly pay them any attention. I mean, it's a waste of life. You know, you got to cut out those distractions from your life. They're keeping your masculinity from shining. They're keeping you from achieving your masculine potential. You're wasting the gifts of intellect, marriage, fatherhood, being a leader, displaying physical prowess. I mean, how many people have I talked to over the years who say they don't have time to exercise? They don't have time to make healthy food. They don't have time to lift weights. But they sure have time to spend, you know, how many hours every week on Facebook, or how many hours every week watching television, or how many hours every week doing something that provides such less value to their lives in the long run. And so, you know, those are the stains that we really need to get rid of. We need to get rid of that fear and worry. We need to get rid of the endless distractions that have plagued our lives, and clean off that stain of negativity that so many guys have today. That's not masculine. That's an emasculated way to live. A masculine man is positive. He's confident. He's not distracted. He's focused on his goals. He's not afraid to express himself, to be bold, to be courageous, to go after what he wants in life. That's what it means to be masculine. And if you want more information on that, I recommend that you go to masculinitybydesign.com. And you can pick up a free copy of my book, Masculine by Design. And I go into a lot of that, you know, where it comes into motivation, ambition, health, fitness, and a lot of other things in that book that'll help you rekindle your masculine energy, help you get back that repressed masculinity that the years of just having it being suppressed by society and by feminism and just the overall drain on our masculinity that is the modern Western society. So that's all I have for today. I hope that you found some value in it, and that you use this as motivation to get rid of all these stains on your masculinity. So like that diamond, it can shine through. The world can see the value that's there, that you can experience the value that's there, that you can set yourself apart from all the other guys who aren't showing their value. They're the dull, common gemstones, where you can be the diamond that shines in the midst of all of them, and is desirable in this world. So this is Craig James from MasculinityByDesign.com. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, you can find me at Masculine Design. And thanks again for listening. This is Craig James. Until next time, I'm out.